Right, hi everyone. Welcome to Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel. I'm Adam Benigni at WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live Buffalo on Channel 2. Sal Maiorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Man in the middle of the day is Tyler Dunne, founder of Go Long, tremendous former Buffalo News, Bills beat guy, and a bunch of other jobs. I mean, this guy is like everything NFL. Knows how to report in depth, rock the boat a little bit. All winds up and combines into one hell of a reporter. Tyler, thanks for being with us here on the show.
What a pleasure. Any excuse that can bring us together for a podcast, for just BSing in the media auditorium. Love chatting with you guys, not blowing smoke. Two of the absolute legends of the beat here. So the pleasure is all here.
Look at Maiorana smiling.
That is officially blowing smoke, Tyler. That's all that.
No, it's the truth.
Is that we're both old?
We're old.
This is where I got to make you feel old. I remember reading you as a kid and watching you as a kid. High school down there at Ellicottville. Adam, you probably covered some of my games.
I probably did. I probably did. It's weird when you reach that age. And Tyler, you will too, man. Trust me. Father Time will, where you're going to get it too, man.
I mean, we sent the kids off to their last day of school this morning and looked at the pictures from just this year, of the first day to the last day. And we've got three kids in our middle, Sonny. He looks like a different kid. It looks like he grew up 3-4 years in one school year. So every cliche is true. Time flies.
It is.
All right. So I was telling Sal before you figured out your technical issue. I was telling Tyler, just because of the nature of the work he does, where, I mean, the long form stuff, it's kind of a lost art, really, right? In the day and age of social media and how news gets reported around professional sports in general and beyond that. So I deliberately kind of wanted to keep this unstructured and get into some of the reporting that Tyler has done recently as we are in this lull before training camp starts for the Buffalo Bills, with a lot of questions and I think some answers too. But two interviews in particular, Tyler, struck me. I mean, your sit-downs with Joe Brady and Josh Allen, where there's some interesting, again, kind of wider angle statements from both of them. And I'd like to spend some time today kind of getting into that. We can go whatever direction you want to bring some insight for fans as they get ready for things resuming over at St. John Fisher. That sound good?
Sounds phenomenal. Yeah, it was. And you know what? I appreciate the intro. I wasn't really sure if there would be a market, a niche for like to zag where most of media zigs. And right. I get it too. I mean, we're all living in sports media and we've seen the changes in the last few decades where, okay, it is going to the shorter attention spans and 280 characters or a 60-second reel and lists and mocks. And that's kind of where the movement is going toward. Maybe it's stubbornness and just kind of wanting to cover pro football like I want to cover it. I'm like, all right, no, I'm going to try to sit down with guys for hours on end and write 6,000-7,000 word stories, and hopefully people will want to read them, subscribe. And I just want to thank everybody watching, listening to this podcast, because I mean, Western New Yorkers, Bills fans across the country, I mean, these are the people that I've kind of built Go Long on since November 2020 through, as you noted, it's not always going to be pretty. There'll be some good, right, some bad, some ugly when you're trying to talk to as many people as you can in the building. But there are a good amount of fans out there with an open mind who want to learn, want to read, want to sit down for a half hour. And I don't take that for granted ever.
Yeah. Tyler, you and I obviously are in the same word business, and the business has just changed. Well, especially in my time, I'm, 63, for crying out loud. I was around when they were still printing the press, over there hand by hand and fixing periods, literally cutting it off on the floor and sticking a period on the plate.
Oh, I love it. Oh, it brings you back to, I visited Chuck Pollock at the Olean Times-Herald in sixth grade. And I can picture it now.
I know, it's incredible, but it is funny. You're right. The long form art is really kind of gone for content creators like myself who work for mainstream media. I mean, now, Tyler, I remember going into training camps and, I'd have my 2 weeks of vacation, but then I would come back 2 weeks before and I would have to produce these 2,000 and 3,000 word features on certain guys or previews. Now none of that gets clicks anymore. They'll read my stupid 5 players to watch in training camp, right? Or my roster depth breakdown with a little one-liner on each guy. They'll read that shit, but they won't sit down for us in the mainstream end of it and read a 3,000 word feature.
Yeah.
We check our clicks and our numbers. It's unbelievable. You spend all this, you know how much time you spend
Yeah, oh, yeah.
on one of your stories. When I spend 3 or 4 or 5 hours, just writing, let alone the interviews, the transcribing, the bang for the buck just isn't there. And they've told us, we don't want it. Just write quick, short attention span. We do not need the big features, and it is a lost art. So it's great that you've been able to make yourself, carve a niche for yourself, and you do a great job, which is obviously why you've got subscribers, but it is a lost form. It's a lost art form. And, look at Sports Illustrated. That's what we used to subscribe to Sports Illustrated for.
I know.
To get those massive cover stories and the in-depth reporting. If Sports Illustrated can fail the way it has now and become a shell of itself, it really is a sad state of affairs in media. But you are surviving, and I congratulate you for that.
And if I could just add to what Sal's saying there, layered on top of that or adjacent to it or whatever is in-house content, right, created by teams across professional sports and the overriding desire to kind of control the message. Right.
Totally.
I mean, so much of that is, so you're swimming against that current too in doing what you're doing. And I know this is for people listening, this is a lot of sort of inside journalism stuff, but I do find it interesting. I mean, you've created this, it's more than just an island. It's kind of a fortified place where you can go and do that objective, in-depth, critical reporting that we kind of grew up aspiring to, Sal and I. And that's how we kind of were trained in this business, to keep that objective distance and to be critical and be, fair, but critical where you need to be. So kudos to you, man. I mean, you've balanced out all of that and you're kind of a destination for people who are looking for that type of reporting. And it's amplified too, isn't it? I mean, you cover the entire league, but when you have A1 celeb MVP caliber quarterback like Josh Allen in a franchise that's been so successful, your readership spans across the country and internationally, really, in terms of the interest. It just amplifies all that, and it kind of compounds exponentially on itself, doesn't it, Tyler?
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, I'm trying to think, 17 years of just D-level quarterback play to potentially C+ at times, and the Bills it wasn't just that they were bad, they were boring year to year to year. And it feels like another time, doesn't it? I mean, it's like Josh Allen's been the quarterback, longer than a decade. The expectation is to get to a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl, and to kind of see the mentality of the local shift to that mode has been fascinating. I covered the Packers at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and they kind of lived in that world. Hell, they won a Super Bowl right before I got out there, and the pressure to win it again and again through all those playoff losses was palpable. You could feel it in the town, when Kaepernick is running all over them and everybody's depressed, everybody's sad. It was, fire everybody. But it was kind of cool to feel that pressure in the air, because it did kind of kick you in the ass to do a better job and to keep the heat on and to cover this team objectively and critically. That's what the masses want. And I feel like the Bills are kind of in that place now where it feels very Super Bowl or bust this season with this coach, this quarterback. And to Joe Brady's credit, to Josh Allen's credit, sitting down with both of them, it sure as hell feels like they both understand that's the reality in which they live.
Take us inside. Let's just kind of break them down, both of them, because I'd like to get your thoughts on what your takeaways were. Start with Josh. I mean, we get Josh, twice a week during the season, Wednesday and then game day. He says nothing to us. I mean, he really says absolutely nothing. He's become as boring as any superstar player in any sport. Just happens. He used to be, a fun kid to talk to, and now it's just cliche after cliche. Did he open up to you? Give me a few takeaways on things that you thought, well, yeah, I haven't heard Josh say that before, or something like that.
I really thought he did open up. It's a different setting too. It's hard for me to rip athletes in a press conference setting for being so milquetoast and bland and boring, because it does seem so performative, right? They're up there at a table and at a podium, we're filling up a entire media auditorium. It feels like everybody's kind of playing a role. Certain messages need to be conveyed. The best quarterbacks, they take all the blame. They take all the criticism. They don't say a bad word about anybody or anything. Hell, Josh Allen, I've never seen him get mad at a receiver for a mistake, unless I've missed something. I mean, maybe
No, you haven't.
Right. I mean, I was out in Green Bay, a little different with Aaron Rodgers. He's still to this day with the Steelers. You can see how colorful he is out on the field. Josh Allen never bitches out anybody. I mean, he takes it all. So I think that's kind of what his press conferences are an extension of. He understands that he is the CEO of the team. He's the most popular person in all of Buffalo, all of Western New York. And I think that's why he's like that. But I thought in this setting, one-on-one, just the two of us hanging out, that he did open up on several things. I guess first off, we're both young dads. You know, like I mentioned, I've got 3 kids. So we talked about that right out of the chute, what it's like for him 3 months in, spending, waking up usually around 2 a.m. and rocking his baby girl to sleep until 3 a.m., changing diapers, calls himself the diaper king. He's got his own method. He's got his own special diaper. He didn't want to reveal the company, but it's not your typical Pampers bought at CVS. And I really got the sense that he is embracing this all. They're not just outsourcing the parenting to a bunch of nannies and friends and helpers. Him and Haley Steinfeld both they're taking this on. They both have really looked forward to being parents. Coco Melon, there's a strict ban on all terrible TV shows for the future of their child, which sets their baby up for great success. But I thought that showed a human side to him that we haven't really seen. And frankly, the theme of the story was Josh Allen at 30. He's 30 years old. Josh Allen at 30 is really facing a lot of the same obstacles that he faced at 18. Out of Fireball, California. No stars. Nobody wants him. Gets to JUCO, tears it up. Nobody still really wants him. Grew up watching Fresno State. Tim DeRuyter. I should have called Tim DeRuyter. I actually know him from a Derek Carr story back in the day. Like many times over, said that Josh Allen is not good enough, in his own backyard. And he sends out, 1,000+ emails. He's treated like a spammer, like a Nigerian prince. Like I wrote in the story. No, nobody wants him at all. And he finds a way to blast through that doubt, that moment, prove himself. I think we tend to forget what 2018 and 2019 even were really like, where he's getting mocked relentlessly on social media. And every overthrow in a training camp practice, if the clip made its way on Twitter, all hell would break out. And he proves all those people wrong. He's the best quarterback in football, but he still hasn't been to a Super Bowl. He still hasn't won a Super Bowl. And you could see it, you could feel it, you could sense it. He said, I don't want to go down as one of the greatest players who never won a championship. That's not an accomplishment. So I think he kind of, it's a flashback to when he was 18. He can sense that doubt. He can feel it. And there were moments throughout this conversation where you could really see that chip on the shoulder brought to life in Josh Allen.
Well, one of the big sort of quotes that got some national attention, wasn't it? It would be the last best story in all the sports for this town to win a Super Bowl or major sports championship, and that he wants to be the one to do it. Like, describe the point in the conversation at which he said that, what the context was, and what your take is on his true feeling, the feeling behind that.
He's been here a long time. And I think when you're drafted by the Buffalo Bills, or hell, the Buffalo Sabres, you're a little naive. You don't really know what to expect in Western New York at all. You know it's cold and they got good chicken wings. But when you live here for a while, you can really feel it. I don't know. You guys have been here longer than me. You're older than me, but it's palpable. I don't know what would happen if either one of those teams won a championship. I highly doubt you'd see like a Mucinex character like you saw in Manhattan, dumping the trash into the street at a New York Knicks parade to steal a garbage can. Boy, that was something else. Very good to see that she was fired. Let's just eliminate her from society. I think you'll see general happiness. I don't know what will happen if the Bills win a Super Bowl, but the longer you're here, the more that you understand that. And I think that Josh Allen, it's not like he can live any Western New York life. I mean, hell, him Him and Haley, they might go to the Grange for dinner. They're going to get mobbed. People are going to go up and introduce themselves. It's hard to live a normal life. I think that's why they're really treasuring their parenting. But I do still think he understands what a championship would mean to Buffalo. And, one reason I really wanted to sit down with Josh Allen, guys, is the scene there at Mile High. I wasn't there, like, up close physically. I was back here. Were you guys both out there for that one in person?
There.
So I was there. I was not.
It was something else. I mean, to see that emotion, to see those tears, you could tell he put this loss on himself. Those other playoff losses, I don't know what else he could have done. His numbers in the postseason are absurd, but those turnovers stuck with him. And we tend to think that athletes in Buffalo are going to stay in Buffalo forever. I remember thinking at that moment, it looked like this was a star athlete, fed up, tired of it, thinking about life beyond Buffalo, maybe. Or you had to wonder, at what point will Josh Allen say, enough's enough, I need to go somewhere else to win a championship? And anecdotally, I've heard that from friends, like, I just want Josh to win a championship, and it's not going to happen here. I almost wanted to go somewhere else. And you could just see the emotion and the sadness. And how in the hell do you move on from that point if you're Josh Allen? And so there's been a coaching change. They're going to play in a new stadium. He had a baby. Hell, he's got a new receiver. There's a lot of new. I wanted to get a sense for, okay, a few months later, where is Josh Allen at mentally? Came away thinking, okay, this is a reborn athlete at this stage of his career, extremely rejuvenated, to use his words.
I was there. I was standing on the left side, right where the door to the locker room opened when he was going to come out to the podium. And Kevin Kearns was there, his handler, and he comes out before everybody else could see him. But I was on that side of the room, and he just immediately did this, broke down, and turned around, and went back into the shaded where you couldn't see him, right? And Kearns just looked at him and nodded his head. He took 30 seconds to compose himself. I'd never seen that from Josh Allen. I've rarely seen that from any professional athlete in that type of setting. And even when he came back out, you guys all saw it. He was not composed. He could not keep it together. And I felt like, I'm not going to say I felt like he was broken, but I just felt like this is the first time we've really seen Josh Allen super, super vulnerable and even human to a certain extent, right? Because he's so good at putting the losses behind him. And as I said, spewing cliches and just being the mouthpiece for the team. This was the first time where we really, really saw, the inner working of him. And I felt bad for him in the moment. So we'll see. It's going to be very interesting to see how he bounces back from that. I don't get the sense, guys, that he wants to leave Buffalo to win a championship. I think this is my perspective. I think he wants to stay here for the next 10 years and get it done. I don't think he ever wants to turn his back. Yeah. Now, maybe you got a different sense, Tyler, from him, but that's just my sense of who he is. He wants to do it here.
Totally. That was absolutely a number one takeaway from this conversation is, okay, I'm just saying, like, the thought kind of entered my mind. It's like, boy, like, again. Right. No quarterback has won more playoff games without getting to a Super Bowl. Something had to change finally. And they finally made that change. I think if Terry Pegula could go back in time, he probably would have made that change after 13 seconds, but they made that change and that was important. And I think that kind of fed into this rejuvenation too. But yeah, I got the sense that what Josh Allen says, he truly means. Like, he loves it in Western New York. He loves being the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, loves his teammates. I've been in a lot of locker rooms, guys. I've never heard players talk about a quarterback the way they do Josh Allen in Buffalo. And yeah, look, he played with a freaking broken fifth metatarsal in his foot the last month. Can't even walk during the week. He's had broken hand, concussions, everything. He'll play through whatever he can. He's going to get peeled off the field. He's got the longest starting streak in football right now at the position actively. So yeah, I think he wants to do it in Buffalo. It's real, and I think it's going to happen. I don't know if it's this year. He's just too good. He's too talented. And I do think that union with Joe Brady, we'll see what Joe Brady's like in the fire. You never really know with a first-time head coach. Right. The more you learn about the man and the coach, you see why Terry Pegula, Brandon Beane did what they did.
All right, so that's a good segue as we get to the Joe Brady aspect of this, right? Because they're inextricably linked, head coach and quarterback, right? And if they're going to finish this job, Joe Brady's going to have, a massive impact on that result. But you said something earlier, what Josh Allen is willing to play through, right? And we were joking at the beginning of this about father time and all that. And right, well, hey, father time starts to become a factor. And he also said to you that he was going to kind of play the way he does until he couldn't anymore. I thought that was profound. That was my biggest takeaway from your story, in the sense that, and he's done a lot to reduce the number of hits and play a more nuanced game and a more responsible game, cutting down on turnovers, all of those. I want to acknowledge all of that. But he's wired a certain way, built a certain way, and has been supremely successful a certain way. Right. And I guess how long, no one really knows the answer to this, but can the window stay open? How long is the window going to stay open with Allen taking that? I mean, I do feel like they've dodged some bullets with him in terms of him avoiding legitimate time off the field consuming type injuries. And I'm always kind of cringing, like, when's the pendulum going to kind of fall back on and swing back on that? But I found that a very interesting take. And then you fuse Joe Brady into that, right? And they have the relationship and continued success on the field, obviously. With Brady as a head coach, does his influence change? Does the dynamic there change? I'll kind of leave that open-ended for you, Tyler, to go in whatever direction you want to with that.
And admittedly, it was a leading question when I was sitting down with Josh Allen, because I make no bones about it. I've probably beaten the horse to a bloody deceased pulp at this point, that you just got to let Josh Allen be Josh Allen. And the analogy I always use, it's like, you got to let creators create. You can't tell Dave Chappelle, you can't swear at the mic. You can't joke about this group of people. You can't joke about that group of people. Stay in this. You'd be just sanitizing and neutering, and it's just dumping Purell all over these creators. No, like, you got to take these guys in full. He'll be smarter. And I just, frankly, like, linebackers are going to be as fast as Josh Allen at some point when you're 34 or 35, and you're not going to be able to run all over the place just because it's not going to be smart. You're not going to get that first down anymore. But I don't think that the comparison is Cam Newton. I get why it's thrown around. This is the Panthers North for a while, especially early on in the tenure. They were signing all these guys and bringing in all these coaches. And Cam Newton was a first overall pick who is unafraid to get physical, to run between the tackles, a lot like Josh Allen. We all remember that first down against Dallas in 2019. It was like the big bang moment for this team. I'm looking at the numbers here where, you can say, look, they both won MVPs at age 28. The numbers are very similar. They've been sacked about the same amount of time, carried the ball about the same amount of time. I just feel like the big difference here is the arm strength of Josh Allen and the ability to play in the pocket. The comparison is Brett Favre. I mean, arm strength can age really, really well. Favre at age, where is it here? I want to say it was, he took it was age 38 was when he took Green Bay to the NFC Championship game. They were 13-3, had one of his best statistical seasons. Then at age 40, did the same thing with the Vikings, because he can throw it through a brick wall. I mean, Allen's got that. And he also has that insane threshold for pain. It's a great point, Adam. I mean, he's avoided the ACLs and the MCLs and the Achilles and the injuries where you don't have a choice. You've got to sit out. Anything short of that, he's just going to play through. I mean, you saw it with Brett Favre. He played through everything. His ankle would be the size of a watermelon. His thumb would be broken. It didn't matter. He tore his bicep. He played through everything. I mean, Josh Allen's going to do the same thing. There's some quarterbacks that don't do that. MVP quarterbacks who don't do that. You don't want to get inside the mind of a Lamar Jackson. I mean, only he knows what he's dealing with, but he hasn't been out there in some critical games late in the season. I think the Bills have a quarterback who will be, and Matthew Stafford just won an MVP at 38. So I think that's Allen's point. It's like, let's just pump the brakes on him needing to completely change his style of play. He doesn't need to, because guess what? To get to a Super Bowl and to win a Super Bowl, you need that element of special, right? You're not going to get there with Josh Allen handing the ball off and throwing the ball away and sliding and not taking that chance in double coverage. No, he's just got to go, and you can't pollute his psyche with BS. And I feel like Joe Brady gets it, and he's going to do everything in his power to maximize Josh Allen, peak Josh Allen in his prime.
Yeah, I think your comparison is dead on. It is far. Josh Allen is so much a better quarterback than Cam Newton. Cam Newton was flashy, Heisman Trophy winner, #1 overall pick, got to a Super Bowl. But no, there's not even close to what Josh Allen is as a complete quarterback. You're right. Favre is the comparison. So let's segue there to the Joe Brady interview, because, a lot of us believe, now I'm not going to say I totally believe that Sean McDermott held Brady back. I think Sean McDermott realized this is a damn good running team. Joe Brady understood that, and they ran the ball. They ran the ball better than any team in the league, and Josh Allen was still able to be Josh Allen. But did you get the sense that it will be a little bit different with Brady now in complete control, Tyler? I mean, they're still going to feed James Cook, but do you think the leash, if there was any type of leash on Josh Allen, will that be released now that Brady has final control?
I think you'll see more of a cosmic philosophical change to how the team thinks and game plans. And I don't know what's right or wrong. So, maybe the tactical, over analytical, paralysis by analysis, looking at every matchup, being concerned about this receiver or that quarterback. That's Sean. I mean, we both have talked to Sean. I sat down in his office ahead of the playoffs in 2024. He brings out a pamphlet. It's the whole playoff plan for the Buffalo Bills. He wanted them prepared for every possible scenario that they could face. He feels his job as coach is to have them mentally prepared for anything that can happen, and that includes the game plan. And I do think when they played like an elite quarterback, and look, they were in these games to the very end, so he was onto something in some regard. And I feel like the pro Sean contingent would say he's doing this because he doesn't have the personnel on defense. That's a whole other discussion. The plan really was, okay, we're playing Patrick Mahomes. We've got to run the ball. We got to take care of the ball. We got to keep it out of his hands, and that's how we're going to play. And I feel like Joe Brady is going to be a good employee. He's going to follow the orders of his boss. Now, I don't think it was like pointing the finger, Sean McDermott penning the game plans himself by any means. Like, Joe Brady's the offensive coordinator. Joe Brady also got his job because Ken Dorsey was fired. So he's going to listen to Sean McDermott every step of the way.
Sure.
I feel like now as head coach, Joe Brady's mission has really been, no, they've got to play us. And it really started that first meeting when he was the offensive coordinator and he took over for Dorsey. I want to say they played the Jets, and we talked about it. It's in the two-part series that the reference for those that want to read it. They were playing the Jets. The Jets had a loaded defense. How easily we forget Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, a lot of talent. And Joe told me, like, he made a point not to harp on those individuals. He didn't even talk about how they're going to handle Sauce Gardner, how they're going to handle Quinnen Williams. He stood in front of the room and said, like, they got to deal with Josh Allen. They have to deal with James Cook. They have to deal with Khalil Shakir. They've got to deal with us. And I feel like he wants the Bills thinking that way, offensively and defensively. He brought up, like, he's naming like Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, like, we need to attack. And that's why they hired Jim Leonard. They want more disguise. They want more deception. They want more pre-snap chaos that just didn't exist to take it to the opposition. So both sides of the ball, I feel like that was the number one point of emphasis for Joe Brady as he takes over as head coach. We'll see what it leads to. I mean, we're really not going to know until January when they're back in that playoff moment with whoever's healthy out there. But they've got to get into that playoff game, get a Bo Nixon 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, and not just back off. Right?
Not play nickel defense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So this is my final point, and I know we got to kind of wrap this up here, but I want to take it to the CEO level now, right? Because that's the big hurdle that Joe Brady has to get over. And you don't really know until you get into the season and the pressure starts to mount. I mean, right now, everything is, It's optimism, hope springs eternal, and as you get into training camp and all of that. But there are some major questions there. I think probably among the biggest questions nationally that people have about the Buffalo Bills is is there going to be a regression, at least initially, under Joe Brady, and how's he going to handle all that? What I took from right from the opening press conference when he was introduced after McDermott's firing, the tone he's trying to set for the organization is vastly different than that of Sean McDermott. I mean, McDermott, no one knows better than you and anyone who's really covered him. He was wound really, really tight. And I think to Sean's credit, sort of evolved toward the end of his tenure as a head coach. Brady, completely different. I look at the way he messaged and is handling Keon Coleman, for example, right? I feel like he wants some of that tension that existed that McDermott, to his credit, maybe used to his advantage as a leader, dissipated somewhat inside of the. Is that your sense? And in talking to him, did you get that? What was your takeaway on that point, Tyler? And how might it translate?
Yeah. Boy, isn't that the age-old debate? And you see it with every team that fires one coach and then hires another coach. The pendulum just swings. I can remember being out there with you guys in 2015, talking to players about going from Doug Marrone and his reign of terror to Rex Ryan, man, players coach. I mean, everything down to letting guys wear what they want to wear, to the training camp. I mean, kind of, it could feel like a country club is a little strong, but you see all the wives and all the girlfriends out there. It's a little more laid back, and it was covered. If I went back and found my stories through a very positive lens, that training camp, I'd imagine. Like, little did we know, Preston Brown, Marcel Darius, Mario Williams, everybody on defense, Steph Gilmore, this scheme was just driving them nuts. And, that was the problem with Rex, is like, you had a good thing and you just, completely bastardized it schematically. So it's going to go back and forth. Like, and I don't know what is right. And I don't want to paint Joe Brady as players coach, laissez-faire, letting guys do whatever they want, because I feel like his relationship with Josh Allen, for example, like, it has grown and evolved, and it's gotten to a really good place where there's a ton of love, similar to, maybe not as strong as it was with Brian Dable, but similar in that he'll be able to get on his ass if he has to. And Joe really tried to make that point in our conversation where, look, if he screws up, like, I can get on him, and they can have that real back and forth. I don't think the previous relationship ever got to that place over nearly a decade. So that's why I get the Joe Brady hired too, like, to hit reset on the most important relationship in sports, coach and quarterback.
Right.
It would have been dangerous. It would have been tough. Like, maybe a Grant Udinski comes in and hits it off with Josh Allen, and it's all great. That's why they had him in that room, by the way, so he can have that first impression with all 9 of these candidates. What's it like? But it's gotten to a really good place for Joe Brady, where, yes, what we see at practice with the music blaring, and he's clearly more laid back, and he's got relationships with players in all the different rooms. It's different. He walks into a room, the vibe is different than it was with Sean McDermott. That's all great. I do think, though, at least my gut feeling is that he'll still be able to be hard on guys when he has to. But time will tell. Like,
right.
Mike McDaniel was awesome for a million reasons. I thought he was a breath of fresh air in that industry. By the end of that tenure, you had players skipping meetings, and there was no leadership and no accountability, and the whole thing fell apart. You also had Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback. But that kind of plays into it too, where, like, Mike McDaniel, his greatest flaw was he would just see the positive in everybody and accentuate that positive. And that was great post Brian Flores to get Tua to believe in himself. But you also got to look at the negative. You got to see when things are going wrong and address those things. And there's a balance in there to find, and Joe Brady's got to kind of strike that balance. You don't know what you don't know. It's his first year on the job. But I do think it was the right hire, given the candidates available, because of that relationship with the most important person in the building. And he gets that Josh Allen is the most important person in the building.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest thing with Brady is he's going to have to stop. He's going to have to understand that he can't just be everybody's best friend now, right? He can't be the cool kid, the big brother, all that. That's where he's going to have to determine, which direction this thing is going to go. Can he make the transition from we all love Joe Brady to, hey, Joe Brady's our boss now, and it's going to be a different thing. I think that's the biggest thing he has to do, and I think he's capable of doing it. I do. I was on board with making a complete change and resetting the whole thing, but after they made the Brady hire, my initial reaction, I put it aside, and I realized they didn't need to blow this whole thing up, and it was probably the smart thing to do to leave Brady in there because of the relationship with Josh Allen and because the offense has been damn good with Brady in charge. There was no reason to blow it up. So I'm on board with it. I wasn't quite at first. Adam will tell you, I was a little bit underwhelmed after all the candidates that were in, but I think it's going to prove to be the wise decision. But as I said, he's got to make that switch from everybody's buddy to, no, I'm in charge now. We'll see if he can do it.
Yeah. You don't know that until you're into the crucible of the regular season, right? When all of a sudden you drop 2 in a row, or, an injuries are mounting or whatever, or, right? Or there's the need for discipline. I mean, you're not really going to get a sense of that. What happens if things go south with a Keon Coleman? How does he change his tune? How does he manage that situation? All of that, right?
And Tyler, here's the other thing too. Most first-time head coaches are dropped into a shitty situation, right? They're there because everything has gone to hell and they're the new bright light. It's very rare that a guy like Joe Brady, especially the youngest coach in the NFL, is dropped into a situation where it's win right now. There's no margin for error. You are here to take us to the next step. And by the way, we're already pretty high on that staircase. There's no room to go back. I think that's an immense amount of pressure. I'll be very interested to see how he handles that part of it too.
I think he gets it too. I don't know what the timeline is. My co-host, organic, shameless plug, I'm sorry, Jim Monis, he's made this point several times on our show, right? He's the director of personnel with the Bills. He thinks he gets 2 years. He's got 2 years to get to the Super Bowl. I'm not sure what's in Terry Pegula's mind, but I think that Joe Brady understands that anything less than a trip to the Super Bowl will be deemed not good enough by a majority of the fan base, given how close they've been. And you had to hire a coach who would embrace those expectations. He is. Right, we'll see. And you're right, Adam. There's a long-time Bills vet. I'll just frame it that way. I talked to, he was a source for me on the 3-parter on Sean in 2023. And he's very plugged in. He talks to a lot of the current guys. He's close to Josh. He's like, man, I love this hire. Players love him. He gets Josh. He gets the big picture, where in this player's view, Sean McDermott didn't get that bigger picture. He thought that Sean believed that the program should really run through Sean, for better or worse. Even he said, nobody knows. Nobody knows how Joe Brady will handle. Joe Brady doesn't know how Joe Brady is going to handle that scenario you laid out. You're 1-4. You're 0-2. You just suffered a significant injury. It can be a lonely profession, was his point. When the heat's turned up by us in the media, by the fans, there's still a lot of season left. How in the hell do you handle that? At least you got a coach, that's going to get up at 3 a.m. with the fast twitch into shorts, regardless of the weather, ready to frickin' attack the day. I feel like he's such a positive dude. Even in those scenarios, he can maintain that positivity. We shall see.
All right, so speaking of those expectations, as we put a wrap on this, FanDuel, presenting sponsor for this program and others on the Believe network of podcasts. Los Angeles Rams, your Super Bowl favorites at plus 550. Seattle Seahawks and the Buffalo Bills in the second spot, tied at plus 1,000. So speaking to your point earlier. No pressure,
Joe.
No pressure whatsoever.
No pressure. You're the second betting favorite to win the Super Bowl. Go for it, dude.
Hey, Tyler, just again, before we put a wrap on this, remind people of how they can find Go Long if they haven't already, and how they can follow you, all that stuff.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Thanks for having me, guys. This was great. Can't wait to get out there to St. John Fisher and see you in the flesh. GoLongTD.com is the site, and Substack is our platform. So it's a great app, really user-friendly. You download the app and all our stuff is there. You can sign up as a free subscriber and get some of the stuff, or go pay for $8 a month, $50 a year, and get everything, features, Q&As, deep dives, columns, podcasts. And on the cusp of this season, we'll have a ton of long-form stories for everybody. I love this time of year. It really gives you a chance to take a deep breath, travel around the country, sit down with some players and learn a thing or two. So it's a good time to get on in if you'd like.
All right, great stuff. Tyler Dunne, Go Long, Sal Maiorana, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, Madam Benigni, WGRZ TV, and Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Thanks for being with us. This has been and continues to be Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.